Hey there, neighbors and naysayers. Clint Finney again, January 15th, 2023. Thought I ought to take a video. There's a line in the Baxter Black poem, something about the crown of ice and turned hell upside down, and that's kind of what we are right now. I'm not complaining about the cold weather. Just kind of grab another blanket and stay in the house as much as you can, but I know our friends in Canada are saying that ain't cold. It ain't cold, but it's a wet cold here in Eastern Ohio. I had the boys this weekend, so it was a good weekend just to hang inside. Levi's 3 and won't keep gloves on, so we just do what we can do. Come out and get stuff done as we can. Today's Martin Luther King Day. In the spirit of I have a dream, I guess this is our dream. While I was walking, I'm walking up to check calves and check hay. One thing I have to do, for those of you that don't know, we're going to talk about frost-free waters. I guess I'm in the sunlight here. Talk about frost-free waters at the Eastern Ohio Grazing Council pasture walk here at the end of the month. I guess that's, I don't know whether that's this week or next week. I'm not good on my calendar. Miss Dolly's going to show you how that works. Just push the ball down, drink water, come back up. So I came up this morning expecting that to be froze. Really did. With only 16 head on this water and it being far enough away from the bale grazing face, I really expected it to be froze, but it wasn't, which is good to my delight. Last winter we had the cows over here and we're unrolling bales, and then we lost power for 24 hours. Didn't have a water pump to pump water to this. The cows drank it down, drank the balls down, and then the whole works froze. So we had to hand water the cows for a couple hours. I might have even done a video back there. A couple days, not a couple hours, 3, 4, 5 days. I'd come up here and stand here for 2 or 3 hours watering cows, just letting it run full blast, and everybody got a drink. And then when everybody got a drink, then we quit and went home. It sucked. But it was one thing about it, as those cows came to me every day, I had a bunch of cows that had lost their ear tags or never had ear tags. And because they were coming to water, I was able to just reach in there and snap an ear tag in their ear without getting them in and putting them in a corral. And you know, we live without a head gate, although head gate parts came today. So we'll have a head gate here, hopefully by the end of the year. But we didn't have one, so that's what I did. I stood up here with a ear tagger and tagged cows, so almost every cow on the farm now has a tag, except Miss Dolly, but we're not ever gonna not know who she is. There's a couple calves here and there that don't get one, like Miranda's calf doesn't have a tag. Oddly enough, our first calf and last calf from this season doesn't have a tag. So I got sidetracked here. So this is a Miraco 2-ball water. We've got, I think 5 single balls, and then we've got 2 of these 2 balls. It doesn't matter which one. I prefer the single, actually, for the number of cows that we have. I thought I would like this double. It's okay because it's split across the fence, but I would rather just put the ball in such a way and make a hole in the fence for them to drink out of either one. We just don't have enough cows to need to have 2, but either one works. So, and this is an older style. I bought this one used somewhere, but if this is froze, a lot of times it's just the ball that's froze. So I can come up here and thump it with the heel of my boot and it'll break loose, and then they'll go ahead and drink, and the new water coming in will keep it thawed. So that's the way this works. These work best if they're getting flow. They have to be getting water working through them. If they sit empty, like we've got the other 5 or 6 or 8 that are out on the farm that don't have cattle on them today, they're probably froze. The ball will be froze, and parts of the whole thing will be froze. But if the only other maintenance issue we've had, if it gets cold enough long enough and the livestock aren't drinking on it, it'll be a solid block of ice. But most of the time, just the ball freezes and the float that's in there inside this top box, and the new ones have just a blue lid on them, the float will freeze. So when that happens, we take the cover off get a bucket of water. It doesn't have to be hot water, just water, and drizzle it on that float. Now below that float is an open hole that goes down into the air vent or the heat well that's underneath of this trough. So it doesn't matter, it's just going to soak into the ground, not a big deal. But just drizzle that on that float, that whole 5-gallon bucket of water. By the time you get done, it will have unthawed the float, and then we go on. We can put the lid back on and everything's fine. I usually have to do that 2 or 3 times a winter, depending on the water. I hope this one here I never have, actually. It stays pretty insulated. The newer ones with the new door, I usually about once or twice a winter, we get cold enough and the cows go away long enough. Wind and cold is a killer for these things. It makes them freeze faster, plus the wind and cold pushes the cows away from the water. They don't come because they're all nestled up together, and then it goes through a 12 or 24 hour period. We just came through heavy wind, and surprisingly enough, both waters are still thawed. So thought I'd just give a little tutorial on why I like these. There is no good option for frozen or freezing weather for water in this type situation. The best option is a gravity flow water off a spring development. We've got several here on the farm, but all of them are right next to the creek, where we don't want to be feeding cattle in the winter. I don't actually have any, well, I do have one, I guess, spring on the north side of the farm. There's 2 actually, but one doesn't flow any water hardly at all. The other one, the tank is busted, and we just don't need it, so we haven't fixed it because we just don't use it. It's down near the creek, and it's just not worth it for us to use. The one good part about it is if we get really bad, really frozen weather, or we get an extended period of time without power, I can turn the cows loose and go to a frost-free water that is gravity fed, and then they'll have water. Outside of that, I prefer these because they're high and dry and up away from water. The only other option we have, and I saw somebody talking about that, down, I don't know whether you can see, but down in that valley, there's a spring that comes out, and it's not enough to ever want to develop. Well, it is, and I will at some point when the excavator's here and doing something. Actually, you can see 2 or 3 other glazes of ice up there where water's kind of coming out of the ground. We need to develop those and get a trough over here, but it's just not enough water to really be worth it unless the excavator's here for some other reason. But I knew these group of calves were going to be fine here this winter. Even if the water freezes up, that spring produces enough water to keep these guys going. They don't go down there on the regular, but they'll go down there if it's frozen. So that's probably enough talking for today. I got to get my glove off so I can push the off button on the phone, but I thought I'd give you a little idea what things look like when it's frozen around here. With that, I'll say, see you next time.